if you guys are in a position where your partner wants space or divorce or whatever it is, right? One response that a lot of people take is like they go, well, here's why you shouldn't get a divorce, or like they get angry at their partner for it. But the way we would acknowledge it is like, okay, let's put my happiness aside for a bit. Let's talk about yours here. Obviously, you want to leave because you're not happy, and you can find happiness somewhere else. So let's talk about how we can get you to happiness, right? One way we can get you to happiness is by telling me all the issues that you perceive or you think are happening right now, and I can take that and I can do something about it. So basically, like, I can take away, help me help you in a way, right? And if I can't do that, then feel free to go. But basically here in the conversation, your partner can sense that it's not about you versus me, right? It's not about you versus me. It's like, oh, here's why I need to pull you. Here's why I need to go out of here. It's basically you're taking this problem that you and your partner have, which is like, okay, you're unhappy right now. That's a problem we're trying to fix, right? And it's you and me versus this problem right now. We're a team right now, right? And to be a team, we cannot prioritize our desires more than other people's. So if, let's say, the win-win is maybe we need to take some space, maybe we need to separate, maybe we need to divorce. If that's the actual win-win you arrive at, that's the best solution to the problem, then that's the best solution to the problem, right? You cannot let your emotions kind of like come into play, especially your selfish emotions come into play to be like, well, I'm willing to talk about anything and everything except divorce. It's like, but what if that's a solution? Right? And I think that's what you're saying when you're saying like, you're coming from this such an insecure place and scared place, that there was this solution that was there.
Mm-hmm.
But you couldn't even see it.
Yep.
You couldn't even see it because like you didn't allow the conversation to actually happen for you to even see it.
Yeah, like with the Korea trip.
Yeah.
What if we go to visit Japan and you go to Korea and we get to have a trip together and you get to go to Korea?
Yeah.
Like, didn't even think about it.
Exactly.
Didn't cross my mind because I was so stuck.
Yeah.
And I was just like in my own feelings and my own emotions, and that cycle, couldn't get out of it. The flywheel, it just kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the takeaway for a lot of people here is like, all our clients who have achieved success, they do it because they basically took all the problems that are happening in the relationship and they allowed enough safety to the point where their partner can really express what they're truly feeling and thinking and so on. When their partner can truly express what they're truly thinking and feeling, that actually puts you in a position where you can start to figure out better win-wins that you didn't think exist.
Yep.
But if you lack your internal shifts and your partner can sense that you are trying to understand, for example, from that needy place where you're trying to understand as a means to an end, you still have an agenda because you come from this insecure place. She will never share the things in the first place for you to even find the win-wins. That's number one. Number two is that even if she does share all the things, your brain will be so uncreative, will be so blocked that you cannot see the win-win that is staring you right in the face, right? Again, it's like for your job, for example, like if you have a creative job and you come to the creative job being all scared every single day, that fear will stifle your creativity. Same thing here,
yep.
Right? And so if you look at clients like Spencer, for example, who, his wife wanted more children, he didn't want more children. Most people would say that's an irreconcilable difference. I don't think they're going to make it. But they realized that, like, from that conversation, that like, no, there's something deeper than that, right? And there's enough safety to actually uncover what that deeper thing is. Once we uncover what that deeper thing is, we open ourselves up to actually discover better win-wins than having children to fulfill those deeper things. The only reason why someone says, they have an irreconcilable difference, it's because one or both people doesn't have the internal shift or the skills to be able to lead a conversation, to lead themselves, to actually find that win-win. Because the win-win is always there. You just don't see it.
Yeah.
So 2 more things I want to talk about, Nick.
Thanks.
So we talked about basically how safety is the root. Second thing we talked about was really how you cannot create safety without the right internal shifts.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the internal shifts a bit. And
Absolutely.
so we talk about already how the bulletproof vest is really, and your internal shift is really like a falling outcome. That managing your emotions is really a falling outcome, that you cannot just tell yourself, don't feel certain things, don't get angry, and expect yourself to not get angry. In fact, it's going to make it worse. What was your old approach like, if you could describe it, to controlling your anxiety? Because you had a lot of experience in that. And why was this new approach so revolutionary for you? Why did it work for you? This auto suggestions and the 4 stages that we talk about in our program.
Yeah. So the old way I used to go about like controlling my anxiety or influencing my anxiety is I would try to understand some sort of like paradigm, like reason why this anxiety is bad, or try to like look at a situation in a different way. Like, they call like reframing the situation. Right. And also like look at like what things might be causing it, like the relationship with like my parents, or like relationship growing up, or, things like that, and try to like find a root cause. And then, but like, I would try like planting those seeds in my mind, like consciously. Okay, I understand that this is bad or whatever, but then some event would happen that would produce anxiety, like something in the relationship or things that have nothing to do with the relationship even. And because like I had not changed my internal self, like my subconscious state, I would still react to that situation in the same way, because I couldn't get out of that flywheel of emotions. Like my emotions would go off. It's like you said before, it's like trying to stop a windmill with your bare hands, And that's what happened to me, is I couldn't stop it. And I was still being influenced by my own subconscious state.
Yeah.
So what was revolutionary in the program for me, Geoffrey, was like being able to like actually influence my internal state and finding a way to affect not just the conscious, but the subconscious. And I learned that I had to do that not in a logical way, but in an emotional way. And that's hard for me because, like I said, I'm very cerebral.
Yeah.
And when I realized that like my own literal voice was like a mechanism that I could use to affect my internal state, that was mind-blowing for me.
Yeah.
Like in doing that, like when I built that internal voice, it affected my outward voice, right, too. And I became more confident in the things I'd say. And it was incredible. To feel that like first time, like I recording my own voice and like listening back to it and using my own voice to kill the bad things that I had believed in my head about certain situations, killing those bad paradigms, and like not just thinking that, but feeling it. That was like one of the most incredible things I felt in the program, was just like feeling your internal self shift.
Yeah.
Every time you listen to it. And it's like, whoa, that was incredible.
So for people who don't know what we're talking about here, it's really, the shift really happens in this way. So if we understand that our paradigms cause our interpretations and our interpretations cause our emotions, then we need to change things at the root, which is the paradigm level. So the question becomes like, how do we reprogram our mind? And when we talk about paradigms, we're talking about your subconscious beliefs about stuff, right? Your subconscious beliefs that basically color the lens in which you see the world, you interpret the world, the narratives you tell yourself that cause your emotions. So how do we change that? How do we change something that's so subconscious? And it's really a 3-stage process for us. So the first stage is what we call state of consciousness. This is basically taking whatever you feel, the negative things you feel, and being able to like look within to understand, see, and feel and accept that you're feeling the things you're feeling. So if you're feeling angry, for example, it's not to tell yourself to stop feeling angry, is that I am angry and it's okay. And you can see evidence of this working when you look at, for example, like, for those men, for example, who have been angry, or for people who have been in like a very depressive spell, when do you get out of that angered state? Or when do you get out of that depressive state? The moment you get out is when the moment you label it, the moment you say, oh, I'm angry, shit. Or, geez, I've been depressed. What am I doing in my life? Right? That moment, whether you realize it or not, that is SOC. That is the moment when you're no longer in the depression, but you're someone observing the depressed state and you're going like, what am I doing? Right? Once you observe it like that, you cannot be the same as the depressed state. Like the observer cannot be the subject anymore. That's a very deep topic. So the first skill is like, go to SOC, because the SOC is the first thing you do to get out of that purple giraffe paradox and to really get out and separate yourself from the feeling. And you are you're now the entity behind the feeling, right? Once you do that, we have a system called autosuggestions where we ask people to create their counter voices, but we do it with a specific a structure, with a specific ammo, with a specific method that really appeals to the senses, that eventually like gets to that subconscious level, right?
Yeah.
And the best way I can describe this without going too deep is, there's a reason why we dream and vision and we memorize jingles, because our eyes and ears are the most like two senses that are mostly associated with memory. When have you ever dreamed in smell? Fucking never. Even touch. When have you dreamed in touch? Fucking never. But you dream in vision and you remember jingles of all things, right? So we're trying to use that to create an autosuggestion that appeals to the eyes and ears to really allow us to get into that subconscious side. Once we do that, basically like you observe it, you accept it, you shift. Once you shift, you observe the new feelings and you let that basically like bake in there. And you do this over and over again. And you realize that over time, you are reprogramming your subconscious mind. And now whenever you get resistance, whenever you get tough truths, your instant reaction is not bad. Your instant reaction is going to be good. It's going to be positive, healthy, etc. And that's the clincher, right?
Yeah, absolutely. There was a moment. Oh, you were going to say something?
No, go ahead.
One of the illusions we learn in your program is the importance illusion. And I could only see one outcome, one way I could win. And I think one of the most incredible experiences I had was when I made a voice recording for that thing and felt something real from it. And it changed my internal state. That did so much for me.
Yeah.
It's really hard to describe, just to feel like your insides like actually changing as a result of like listening to the power of your own message. Like it's an incredible feeling. Like I don't think I can find the right words to explain how empowering that feels.
And, I kind of want to speak to like the existing clients too, because I see a lot of people doing this in the wrong way, where they're doing this whole process, but they're kind of reinventing it and they're recreating it and they're modifying it slightly to fit what they want to do.
Yeah.
And that doesn't work because like, it's designed that way for a particular reason. Like you can say, for example, like, oh, that just sounds like, mantras or whatever. It's not. There is very specific nuances that differentiates autosuggestions from mantras, for example. Different ammos that we pick, different structures that we pick, different ways of like listening to it, delivering it, recording it, etc. Very different. And those small little differences are what makes all the difference. So don't feel the need to like just say like, oh, he's telling me these very specific steps to do the autosuggestions, but it sounds kind of like this, so I'm gonna do it like this. It's like, no, don't like dumb it down, right? Understand how to do it properly. Yep. But once you do it properly, a lot of people also, they struggle because they've never done it and they cannot see it working because they've never done it. But this is something you just have to feel for yourself. And once you feel it, like you said, that's when you go, I feel the train. I'm a believer. Yeah. But you got to feel it first.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like, can I give an example of that feeling?
Yeah.
So like, I feel kind of ridiculous saying this, but I'm going to say it anyways. One of the things that was like really important, like, and I'm not going to go into details about the auto suggestion process, but the idea of like a really potent analogy is one of the parts that's really important. And consistently in many of my auto suggestions, I went back to my childhood, and I would like actually like incorporate things I knew would pull really, really hard on my heartstrings from like, familiar with the video game Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time?
I've heard of it.
There's just like one part, like the end of the game, where like you face Ganon, who's like this, you know, basically the villain of the end of the game, and he comes out of the rubble, right? Like, I'm still alive, right? You lose, you know, everything's hopeless. There's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah.
And he knocks like the Master Sword out of his hand, which is like a mystical sword that can only destroy evil. And that's what it feels like, right? But then you come and you thrive.
Yeah.
That story, like, because like I played that game so many times, it makes me like, feel something inside.
Yeah.
And like that pulls on your heartstrings in such powerful ways. And you feel that, and like something inside you changes.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
With the first time I found SOC, I wept because I've never felt that before. I never felt that level of like shift within myself before. The first time I created like the auto suggestion, a really good one, I also cried. I was like, man, this hits. Like, and yeah, it's something that people just have to feel for themselves. It's hard to describe, huh? That's the thing.
It's really hard to describe, but I think the best word that I can use is like just, it's intrinsically empowering.
Yeah.
You can actually affect your internal state.
And it's a beautiful feeling because like, you know, most people I would say are slaves to their emotions, slaves to life, right?
Right.
Their life is like something happens, they feel something because of this happening, and they act out of that feeling, create worse outcomes, which makes them feel worse, and they feel even worse, and they do even worse. So they keep like feeling dumb shit, thinking dumb shit, feeling dumb shit, doing dumb shit, getting dumb shit, then thinking dumb shit on that, and so on and so on and so on. It just keeps going. But here we're actually like saying, no, you are free to feel whatever the fuck you want. Right?
Yeah.
And if you can feel whatever you want, you can choose to feel any good things you want and avoid any bad things you want. It doesn't matter what happens. You are in control of that feeling, and it's just like, it's like walking through life knowing that you cannot die. Like, you would walk through the darkest alleys and you would be like, you know, you would go to a dark alley and you would go, let's look at the architecture here. Not right. Like, nothing scares you, and you can see a different side of life. You can open your mind to like different creative spots, and it's just yeah. But I want to end this by saying like, okay, we say basically all this is good, right? Like, your life is changed and you are gonna live the rest of your life in this changed state. Like that's also a really nice feeling where you can look at the rest of your life and go like, there's nowhere to go but up. Like, I know it's gonna be up.
Yeah. It's funny, Geoffrey, because like I'm 90% done with your program, not 100% done with your program, right? And like I thought, oh, you know, I'd be doing this for 3 or 6 months, I'd be done. No, like, okay, I'm in this for over a year now, and I want to keep growing. Like, why stop? Like, keep building myself, keep going back to the principles, keep growing, find new ways, to keep growing, like always chasing that becoming, right? Like, that doesn't have to stop. I like it. That was the thing. It's like, I enjoy doing this. Like, that's why it's so powerful, is because like when you find that inside yourself, you just keep going.
Yeah.